Today, I did a social experiment in Fortnite on every server to determine which server has the nicest players and which server has the most toxic players. My friend Space and I made it to an endgame on each server, built some hearts, dropped all of our loot including a crown, and did a super wholesome emote to see how the final team would react. Here are the results. First up was NA West. Towards the end, we got into a pretty sweaty fight but made it out alive with 2 other teams remaining. We decided to start building the hearts a little bit early so that hopefully the last 2 teams would battle it out and the victors would see our hearts and make their way over to us. I have to say, Space's hearts were looking a little bit rough, but he gave it his best effort. We kept building in the middle of all the chaos and fighting. Even though we were being totally friendly, we started getting focused. I got hit with a shotgun from one player, and then the player on the other team destroyed our hearts with an RPG.
Oh my god, RPG's coming in! RPGs!
Oh, the slime ball.
We decided to give these players the benefit of the doubt and assume maybe they didn't know we were friendly. To make it super clear that we didn't mean any harm, we dropped all of our loot and our crowns and started emoting. We didn't know what to expect, but next thing we knew, we got gooed all over.
Oh, this guy's so lame, dude.
Even worse, this player did take the L. I have to say, things weren't looking so promising after NA West. I think NA West had the most toxic reaction you could possibly have to our social experiment. Next up was NA East. The first item on our agenda was to find some crowns that we could drop for the final team. With only 9 players remaining, we encountered a poor solo player that had a crown. We took him out with a tree and got the first of the 2 crowns we needed. We then saw a duo with a goo gun and decided to key them so we wouldn't face the same fate that we did on NA West. The storm started moving in and unfortunately Space got knocked out by a goo gun. Luckily, I was able to eliminate the player that took him out and revive him. Both of the players on that duo had crowns. Now, we had everything we needed, so we headed over to start setting up the social experiment. This game was looking really promising. We tried to build the hearts as quickly as possible so the remaining teams would see that we didn't pose a threat. Well, let's just say that didn't work.
No, dude, we might have to take these losers out.
Even with the hearts fully built, these players were ruthless. We decided we needed to take out the team that was shooting us. Once we got them out of the way, there was 1 player remaining. We quickly built some new hearts, dropped all of our loot, and started emoting. This player at first appeared to be pretty friendly. He picked up the crown, then ran into Storm. It seemed like he was thankful for our kindness and wanted to give us the win. But then he came back into zone and sniped us both to secure the win for himself.
Dang! That was heartless. That was so fast.
This reaction wasn't the best, but definitely way better and way less toxic than NA West. Despite feeling a little discouraged that we didn't have a great reaction yet, we went into EU with an open mind. On EU, Space and I both had over 100 ping, and it was starting to get tough to make it to an endgame. We had to fight for our lives, but we gave it our absolute best. The ping was rough, our builds were delayed, which made the goo gun and the RPG even more deadly. We were able to take out the second to last team and had 12 eliminations, but unfortunately we didn't find a crown that entire game. We were hoping, even without the crown, that maybe these players would be friendly. We built the hearts, dropped all of the loot we had, and started emoting. Poor Space.
They're not nice to me.
They just absolutely bullied him, but I had a glimpse of hope that maybe EU would be friendly. Silly me. These players were pretty heartless, but I respect that they wanted to get the win. They took us both out as quickly as possible and then started cranking to flex their win. I have to say, although EU didn't have a great response to our social experiment, at least it was not as bad as NA West. It can't get any worse than that, right? We queued into a game on Asia servers hoping for the best, but expecting the worst. We were playing this game pretty safe, waiting for the final 2 teams to fight so we could get everything set up. To our surprise, when we left the building we were camping in, we saw the final 2 teams were already emoting together near a heart that we didn't build.
What?
We were so confused, but we decided to join in on the fun. One of the players threw a shield keg and we all healed together. Then we had a dance party, we hugged each other, and we shared some high fives. We were having so much fun with our new friends, and it seemed like they were having a really great time too. One duo decided to knock themselves to Storm, so either us or the other remaining team could get the win. We decided to spend a little bit more time with our new friends before the final zone closed. We were so happy and grateful for our new friends, and Space and I wanted to give them the win. We went into Storm, and right before we were about to die, the final standing player sacrificed himself to give us the win.
What?
No!
No!
I was gonna heal him.
What? He died!
Space and I were in disbelief. We were supposed to be the ones conducting the social experiment and giving out wins, but it seemed like the roles were reversed here, and we'll never forget the kindness that these other players showed us. Since our experiment on the Asia servers went better than we could have ever imagined, we went into the game on Oceana with high hopes. Since our kind friends from the last game sacrificed themselves to give us the win, we had crowns and everything was ready to go. The final two teams started to fight, and Space and I jumped into action to get the social experiment set up. We finished building the hearts and dropped all of our loot just as the final two teams finished up their fight. I did a super wholesome emote, and Space threw up a heart, and we waited for the final player to show up. He started to build up, and he peeked his head above his builds to check out our hearts. Then, the most wholesome thing happened. The Par Patroller gave us heart eyes to show his appreciation for what we had built. I put out my arms to give him a hug, and he ran right over. Then, he gave Space a high five, and we all emoted together. We spent as much time as we possibly could with our new friend, until it was time for Space and I to sacrifice ourselves and give him the win. After our super wholesome encounter with the player on the Oceana server, we had one server remaining, Middle East. Now, we were thinking this could go either way. We've had some toxic encounters, some wholesome encounters, and everything in between. We had to be super cautious on this server because Space and I both had 200 ping. We patiently waited in a bush for the last two teams to fight, and finally, at last, it was time to get to work. We built a platform and the hearts, dropped our loot as usual, and started to emote. We saw the duo peek their heads above their base and then start building towards us. Space and I had big grins on our faces, and we were hoping that these players would be wholesome like the last. They took a look at what we built and did a little jump, so I held out my arms for a hug. That's when they took us out. It seems like they wanted to be friendly, but we're worried that it might backfire. Honestly, can't be too careful these days. As you can see from our social experiments today, not too many players are friendly in Fortnite anymore. After a full day of social experiments, we've seen it all. The toxicity, the wholesomeness, and the distrust. Our final verdict is that Asia and Oceana were the most friendly and wholesome, and NA West was by far the most toxic. To be fair, we only played one game per server, so maybe we'll have to attempt this challenge again to see if the reactions would be similar. What server do you play on? Were you surprised by any of these reactions? Let me know in the comments down below.